House of Gucci. This is a new film from Ridley Scott. It's a true story based on the Gucci family, who are, of course, behind the famous Gucci brand. And it's a look at the family drama between everyone that was in this family. And you've got a very, very big all star cast here with Adam Driver, Lady Gaga, Al Pacino, Jared Leto, Jeremy Irons, Salma Hayek. So, you've got a very strong caster, and that's kind of what attracted me to the movie most of all. Now, like I said when I reviewed King Richard a couple weeks ago, I love true story movies because when they're executed well, they are pretty much flawless films because it's such an entertaining story, because you know it's true, and it's also a way of educating you because this is a story that I did not know. So once again, I have learned something from this movie. Now, this film follows Maurizio Gucci and a woman he meets called Patrizia. Patrizia. I'm trying to do the with a bit of flair, a bit of Italian accent on there. But yeah, ultimately this film is about their romance and how their romance leads to conflict within the family, and then that leads to conflict within the marriage, and then it leads to very, very deadly consequences by the end. Now, I thought the cast all did a pretty good job, but the standouts were Lady Gaga, Adam Driver, and Al Pacino. Al Pacino is a given. Adam Driver, he impresses me in everything that he's been in. He was the best part of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which is an awful trilogy, and Lady Gaga was the star of the show. She is outstanding in this movie. I had no idea she was such a capable actor and so talented at it. She was unbelievable. I never saw her in the movie she did with Bradley Cooper. I think it was A Star Is Born. I never saw that, but I heard she was very good in that. In this, she is exceptional, easily the standout, and she needs to do more stuff based on this. She's clearly a woman of many talents. The fact that she can act this well, and she made some damn good music back in the day. On top of that, Driver and Al Pacino were very good because they're Driver and Al Pacino. They're always going to be good. Jared Leto was pretty much unrecognizable in this film. It's hard to believe that is Jared Leto, but I think he did good with the character he got. It's a bit of a tricky character. It's an awkward character. But, he did well with it, I thought, considering it's very hard to tell it's him. I was impressed. Jeremy Irons did okay as well. He was fine. And Salma Hayek did well in her little role. She didn't have a big role. It's quite limited. And, of course, every character here is doing an Italian accent. And for the most part, these accents were good. I think Lady Gaga had the best. Driver was pretty solid as well. Al Pacino, Italian-American, he did good there. But sometimes I did hear it fading at times. It felt like they would start a sentence in Italian, and then when they went to finish it, they were like pronouncing it in their normal accent, whether that be American or British. And that was definitely the case for Jeremy Irons. At one point, like it seems like his last two lines of dialogue, he just said it in a British accent. Like there was no hint of Italian there. So it was okay. They did a fine job with it, but I think the problem is on top of that is we recognize all these actors and we know them speaking with their usual accent. So when you hear them all putting on Italian accents, you're really judging it hard. I know I was, because I'm just like, how good is this as an Italian accent? And, I don't know that many Italians, but I've been to Italy a lot, so I feel like I understand how the accent should sound to a degree. And here it was there, it was good for the most part. I got to say, like the main cast did it well, but the rest sometimes it was a bit off. And this movie also had a pretty decent soundtrack. It didn't really use a score in this movie. I'm not sure if there was any score at all, but I think maybe the occasional bit. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was mostly sort of music from that era. Fun sort of pop music, and it worked. I think it added a sort of a bit of a fun theme to the movie at times. And obviously this movie is covering a set amount of time, and I think the time frame that it covered was perfect in terms of where the movie started and where the movie ended. That was ideal. All right, they started it at the right time, they finished it at the right time. However, there were some issues. In all honesty, I just feel like the execution of this movie wasn't perfect. One of the issues I came across was the fact that the editing seemed a bit choppy. It seemed like they ended scenes too soon. You would get a character, two characters having a conversation, dialogue, maybe it'd be almost like an argument, and it would just end with a character saying something when it really felt like there was more to say. It really felt like they were just cutting it, and it felt like those scenes actually went on for longer and they got chopped. Because this is a long movie anyway, it's about 2.5 hours, and it felt like maybe there was an issue in the sense of, well, this movie's too long, Ridley, so, you got to chop some scenes, and that's what it felt like here. It felt like they were really chopping some stuff short, and, that blunt ending to a scene kind of takes you out of it for a second. You feel like, well, why has it moved on? It doesn't feel like it it is time to move on from that scene yet. I also felt we needed more scenes exploring how our characters really felt, because in these true stories, the way you're going to relate to these characters and, sympathize with them, and actually sort of feel and understand their actions and their choices and why they're doing the things they are, you need some time with them. You need some intimate time with them. Not them getting naked. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just some emotional scenes, like them sort of expressing how they feel, even if it's not with words. Just something to go on, so you can really gauge where they're at, and that also helps to understand the character's sort of evolution through the movie. I mean, to start with, we get a lot of Maurizio and Patrizia. I think I did that pretty well just then. We get a lot of them in the first half of the movie, because it's kind of covering how their relationship starts and how it moves on and how it evolves and how they get to the stage they're at. But in the second half of the movie, there's quite a drastic change between the two characters about how they feel about each other. And it feels like it doesn't spend enough time with them in that second half of the movie, because the changes are drastic. The way they treat each other is drastically different. And even though you know why it's happening, it feels like it hasn't really been shown enough to you. Like, it hasn't been justified enough to you. And sometimes it moves on to scenes and you're kind of curious as to, well, why is he exactly treating her like that? Or why is she exactly treating him like that? Like, it doesn't quite make sense. Like, I think I have an idea, but it doesn't quite make sense. And I felt like they really needed to still spend that intimate time with the characters, but it felt like they were trying to juggle so many characters that it doesn't quite work. And I think that may be one of the problems of the movie, is the fact that you've got so many characters here, and because they're all big names, you can't really dedicate majority of the time to one character or two characters. Like, in my eyes, 80% of this movie should have been Driver and Gaga, and then the other 20% you split around. But I suppose you've got big names, you kind of want to use them more, and just for me, just balance it a little bit more. It just kind of felt like we went from point A to point C, and we know why they went from A to C, but we needed B. You know what I mean? We needed way more B. We needed the stuff that really makes it believable, makes it understandable, makes it feel more real, makes you empathize with the characters. You needed that middle segment, really. As I said, we just needed to hear a bit more from them, because it just feels drastic and somewhat unjustified, especially when certain things happen, because there's big choices and, very influential choices made in here, and you just feel like you need that bit more just to justify it. And I think due to the fact that things weren't explained sort of enough, it's like sometimes in parts of the movie, stuff was played in like a tongue-in-cheek way. Like, it was just sort of comically done, when it's like, I'm not talking about like cheesy humor like a Marvel movie where they just drop a stupid one-liner, but it just seems like stuff was like trying to be slick. And then it felt like it shouldn't be. It felt like you really need some emotional time with these characters just to make it that bit more impactful. That's why King Richard was so impactful, I think, and why that kind of got me feeling a bit emotional at times. It's just very well acted, and you spend intimate time with these characters, and you really get to see where their head's at and why they're acting emotional, and and then that transfers onto the viewer. Whereas this, it was just trying to I think it was trying to get through so much story that it was rushing certain elements, cutting scene shorts, trying to be slick, trying to be stylish, but that didn't really help the movie on the emotional side. I mean, this may be down to the fact that this isn't a typical movie for Ridley Scott. This is not what he usually does. I'm not sure if he's ever done a true story film before. It's probable that he has, but this is the guy that's very good at making sci-fi in terms of, Alien and Blade Runner. This is quite different. I mean, he has done true stories before. He did The Last Duel recently, but even then, that's a bit of an action movie, so it's probably more closer to home in terms of what he's used to doing. Whereas this is a family drama, and it's just, I'm not sure if it's really a movie that he should have been making. This is no disrespect to Ridley Scott, but in all honesty, House of Gucci is a movie that Scorsese is ideal for him to make. If he made House of Gucci, this would be a 10 out of 10. This would be like a Wolf of Wall Street type thing. Scorsese is the best filmmaker in the game at making true story movies. He's just phenomenal at it. And you look at the Wolf of Wall Street, you look at The Irishman, you look at Goodfellas, all these films. It's just, I feel like if he'd made this movie and when he makes a movie, they let him make it as long as he wants. 3 hours, 3.5 hours. If Scorsese makes this movie, I feel like you get a better movie, you get more fleshed out, you get those emotional moments that I'm talking about, and you get the justification that you need so that when you reach the climax of the movie, it's emotionally impactful. Because that's what we needed here. Obviously, it sounds like I've really just hated on this movie. That it's not hate at all. It's just the fact that it had really good elements here. It had a great cast, and it had a really interesting story to tell. But I just think the way ultimately that it was put together, and the way it was, directed and edited, it wasn't ideal for this movie. I feel like it could have been executed better, and it could have made the movie a 10 out of 10 easily. If Wolf of Wall Street is made by a different director, it becomes like it was an okay movie. Not great though. Imagine saying that about The Wolf of Wall Street. It's one of the greatest films to come out in the last 10 years. One of the best films of this century. So I feel like House of Gucci could have been one of those if it was taken in a different direction. Nonetheless, I still enjoyed this movie. It educated me on a very fascinating family drama, and it taught me a lot. And ultimately, this movie is actually quite dark and depressing in terms of the twists and turns it takes, and what ultimately becomes of these characters. So that was a surprise. It wasn't quite the story as I was expecting. I thought it was going to be really, really glamorous, but whilst there is a dark side to it, and I think it was effective in that sense, and it's certainly a movie worth watching. And honestly, Lady Gaga could be and probably should be in the running for an Oscar here, for Best Actress, because she was outstanding. Honestly, I'm mesmerized by her performance. She just amazed me at how good she was here. I want to see her in more stuff. She should really take on more roles because she showed that she is a damn good actress here. And on top of that, Driver and Al Pacino, very good. They could easily get nominated for their work here as well. But Gaga, easily for me, Best Actress for sure. Overall, I would give House of Gucci a 7 out of 10. I was thinking 7.5, but I'm gonna say 7. I can't justify the 0.5. I think there was just too many points throughout the movie. Like, it's not even like it had a really good first half and then the second half fell off. It was just a case of like, well, it was just consistently cutting scene shorts and doing all the things that I just said previously. It wasn't perfect at any point. So that's why I'm afraid it has to get a 7 out of 10. But it's still a movie that's good. It's still worth watching. It's still got really great performances that you're going to enjoy. And, it's going to teach you some things if you don't know the story of the Gucci family. Thank you very much for watching. If you've seen House of Gucci, please let me know what you think about it. But for now, that's that. I'm not really sure what movie we've got coming up next. It seems like we might be on a bit of a couple weeks off, but we got Spider-Man in about 2 weeks, or less than 2 weeks. So yeah, exciting times coming up. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new, blah, blah, blah. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.